Yeah, so the last time we talked about the 6 doors to your next job, and we went through the different doors. For example, number one, we said you have to know yourself first. Number two, you have to find the right opportunity, identify what you want before going for it. Number three, we said when you find the right opportunity, build your CV around it and not the other way around. So you find the job first, then build your CV. Use the job description to build your CV before you apply. Today, we're going to look at doors number 4, 5, and 6. How to apply with structure, how to prepare for the interview, and how to deliver your preparation with confidence. So let's go. This brings us to door number 4. You want to apply with structure and discipline. Job hunting is a funnel. It's not a lottery. It's not a gamble. It's not a trial and error. It's a structured approach. In fact, some people say it's a job on its own, just that you're not being paid for it. So the first slide I have for you here is tier your targets. Another word I can use here is categorize the companies you're applying to. You know your industry better than anyone else. Let's say, for example, if you are in tech, you want to categorize it, for example, by company and say the A-list companies, companies like Google, Amazon, Apple, you know them, Tesla, SpaceX now, and all of them. You want to give, for example, 60% of your time to that company. 60% of your application time to apply to those companies. Then another category is the next one just below that. You give 30% of your time to them, and then 10% goes to every other company in that industry below these categories. Or you can also tier it based on salary, okay? Depending on what is being paid at your level in your industry. For example, here in the UK, mostly 50, 70,000 K jobs are what you would say is tier one. For example, you can say 70% or 60% of my time goes to companies that's going to pay me at least £50,000 and above, right? Then tier two, 30% of my application time goes to companies that is going to pay me £30,000 and above. And everything below 30%, £30,000 per annum, only 10% of my application time goes into those companies. So you've categorized how you want to spend your application time. So you're not randomly applying to most of the companies that's going to pay you peanuts in the same level, while there are companies that could pay you higher for the same level in the same industry. Then the funnel mat. The funnel mat is very, very important. You have to have a prospect. You have to have a view of the application that you are doing. I have here an example. This is not a fixed. You can tweak it as you want, but I have here an example just to do our math. Take a look at, imagine applying 10 quality applications per week. We spoke about how you do the application last time, so we're not going to go over that today. Imagine doing 10 quality applications per week. That will bring you to 40 applications in a month and 120 applications within 3 months. That is a lot of application. But here is the catch. If only 10% of those companies get back to you, you are already in 12 conversations. If half of those 12 conversations, you move past the recruiters to interview with the hiring managers, that is 6 interviews that you're going into. And if you attend 6 interviews, if your interview skill is good enough, which we'll talk about in the next door, you should at least have 2 offers on your table by the 3rd month so that you then decide on which one to choose. So this is a funnel mat to say, to bring the volume of 120 applications in 3 months to 2 offers on your table at the end of that 3 months. So tweak this math as you want, depending on your industry, your level, and what categories of companies you're applying to, but always have a structure during your application. Another thing about application is tracking every application. You don't want to apply randomly and just forget the companies you've applied to. No. It's very important that you track. You can use Google Sheets, you can use Excel, or you can use similar tools that we find available today. Simple features that can be in your application tracker is you can have things like companies you've applied to, the roles you've applied to in that company, whether you've applied, the dates that you've applied, very important, the source Where did you find the application? Was it LinkedIn? Was it on Glassdoor? Was it on all the other job websites? Very, very important. The contact person, who is the recruiter that you're speaking to, have their contact here. The status, have you applied? Are you preparing to apply? Or is it post-application you're now speaking to the recruiter? Have it here. The follow-up, when was the last time you got a follow-up from the last interview stage? Have they replied to you? Do you have to chase? Do you have to speak to the recruiter again on what's happening? It's important that you update the record of the last time you receive a follow-up for them. And then this note is for you. What's the lessons? What did you find valuable from this application process? At the end of the day, this is going to be a useful data for you, whether you get a job, whether you move to the next job. When you look back at it when you're already at a job, this will be a useful data for you to analyze and improve your application skill. That brings us to door number 5, which is preparing for application. Here, we are assuming that you've done your funnel, you've started submitting application, and now you have interviews on your table that you want to attend. How do you prepare for that interview? Very, very important. I remember my mentor once said to me, preparation is like a war. Preparing for an interview is like a war. You don't want to joke with it. It could be a door that opens you to your destiny as God wants it to be. So you don't want to take it for granted. You don't want to take it slightly. Every T must be crossed and every I must be dotted in this stage. Let's go into it. Number 1, research the company. What do they do? What business are they into? Who are their customers? Who are their competitors? What challenge are they facing right now? Have they been in the news recently? What was it about them? Is it good? Is it bad? All of those are important data for you to prepare. What is their mission? Right? It's very, very important. If you go to a company's LinkedIn page, you can download a PDF of their LinkedIn page. That becomes a useful data to feed into your AI and tell your AI to tell you important things you need to know about this company. Right? I'll come to that in a bit. Number 2, match yourself to the role. Remember, you already know the role. You've submitted application. Now you're preparing for the interview. What do these people want with this role? And how can I tell them that I can do it? Now use AI to pick out key requirements from the job description. Copy the job description, put it into your AI, ChatGPT, Gemini, Claude, whichever one you're using, and tell it to delineate and bring out the key requirements in that role that you need to prepare for, and match yourself, your own skills from your CV into those requirements. And at the same time, have real stories to tell the interviewer that I can deliver this requirement. It is very important that you have those stories ahead of the session. Depending on your level and within your role, you must have at least 10 stories in your archive or in your repository, so that anytime you're going into an interview, you just look through your stories and say, pull out this one, pull out this story, pull out this story, pull out this story. Yes, these are the stories I'm taking with me into this role for this interview. So always have a story of something you have done that matches their requirement on the job description that you take into the interview. Number 3, know your recruiter. These days, know your interviewer, These days, you speak with the recruiter. Some of them are reluctant to tell you who the recruiter should be. Some of them will also tell you. So ask, don't be shy to ask the recruiter who's going to be interviewing me, what is their name. When you have their name, that is a very good data that you have. Take the name to Instagram, check out their post, who they are. Take the name to LinkedIn, download their LinkedIn profile, and feed it into your AI, understand who they are. It is important that you know this person. What excites them? If you look through their social media accounts, what excites them? Where do they go on holiday? What kind of things do they post about the most? This psychologically, you're trying to know what it is that is valuable to them, so that during the interview, when you're speaking to this person, you tie your words in that direction to create a psychological connection between you and that interviewer. So it is very, very important you know your interviewer. And another thing I want to say, at this stage, when you're having a call with the recruiter, you can use your iPhone. iPhone have a means where you transcribe the call, And then the transcript of that call becomes a useful data to feed into your AI to know the recruiter more, because you can't remember everything that the recruiter has told you, but the transcript records everything, and you can feed that into your AI to know your interviewer more. Once you have done these three things, then it's time to practice. You must rehearse. The first time you do it is going to be, it could be awkward, it could be weird. You set your phone, you're recording yourself, you're practicing. Hey, tell me who you are, and you're answering that question to yourself. Hey, tell me how you can do this, or where you have done this, and you're using your stories that you already have as your arsenal to deliver how you've done that requirement. Or hey, in this scenario, what will you do? And you're answering it. It's very important that you practice it. It's very important that you rehearse it. Here's why. When you record yourself doing these things, you go back, you play back, you see where you have made mistake and how you can improve. The first 3 times might be very bad. You can say to yourself, I'm not doing well. I don't think I'll be able to get this job. No, keep going at it. One thing with consistency is you would be improving without knowing, and by the 10th or 20th or 30th try, you'll be doing a lot better than you did in the first 3. That is why it's important that you rehearse out loud. Never go into the interview and it's the first time you're speaking about the things you're going to be talking about without rehearsal. So it's important to rehearse and do that before the interview. Then the STAR method. This is a method for telling your stories. We have a STAR and it represents situation, task, action, and results. Let's say you want to tell a story that addresses a particular requirement on their job description. You don't want to go round and round and round with nobody comprehending your story. This is a good structured approach to tell your story. I have a demonstration for you. Situation, that is asking you what was the problem you were having. What was happening? What was the issue? For example, you could say, last year the people we serve were waiting for too long, so our queue backed up every busy period. Okay. The task, what were you asked to do? For example, I was asked to find a way to cut the waiting time. All right, that is very clear. Action, what exactly did you do to achieve this task? I tracked where the delays happen. I reorganized how we handle the busiest hours. I showed to colleagues a faster routine. Okay, now we know what you did. What was the result? And here's the result. Average wait time dropped from 30 minutes to under 10, and complaints fell sharply. You see what has happened here? You have structured your story by telling the problem, the task, what exactly you did, which is the action, and the result from it. So it's always important to take this STAR approach and use it to deliver your story. Your stories are very important. If you don't tell it, nobody will hear it. Nobody can tell it better than you who experienced it. This brings me to preparing the nights before your interview. You want to prepare to show up confident. Very, very confident is important. You want to sound confident and you don't want to sound like you're lecturing the people interviewing you. So be self-assured so that the people listening to you can see the confidence through the words that you're speaking to them. You want to have a bright smile on your face that makes you come across as warm, like you sit upright, you look sharp, friendly, and never desperate. It's very, very important. You want to communicate very clearly. Skilled communicators say things in fewer words and it comes across very clearly. You don't want to be sounding like you're speaking in a circle. Nobody wants to hear that. You repeat the same thing again and again. Remember, the people interviewing you are listening to you and listening to everything you're saying. So communicate very clearly and be honest, not boastful. There's no point to say you're exaggerating. If what the story you're telling, the result was achieved by the team, give glory to the team. Don't say you did it alone like you were not part of a team. So no exaggeration, no bluff. And the night before, if it's an in-person interview, make sure your outfit is ready. Make sure you know the routes. Make sure your arrival time is planned, and plan some buffers or some delays into your journey. The train might break down, or there could be traffic on the way, or something could happen. So plan those buffers into your journey to make sure you arrive in time, and your phone is charged and everything is ready. If it's a virtual interview, make sure your laptop is steady. Make sure your camera is set. Test it. that is working. Make sure your internet is good and your laptop is charged. Make sure you have a light on your desk facing your face, facing you. I remember I was preparing one time for an interview, and the person that was taking me on a demo said to me, Ben, you don't want to show up tomorrow like this.
Yeah.
That night, I went out and got a desk lamp. It's very important. So make sure, prepare to be in a very private room that is quiet with no interruptions and every other device in the room turned off. So you don't want those phones ringing out loud and distracting you during your interview. And let me just say before we go into delivering with confidence that it's very important that you have a very good sleep the night before your interview. At least 8 hours of sleep. Good sleep makes you wake up the next day very fresh and ready to deliver everything you prepared. Let's talk about how you deliver with confidence, because at the moment you've applied, you've gotten the interview, you've prepared, and you're super ready for it. On the interview day, how do you deliver with confidence? Arrival. If it's an in-person interview, prepare to arrive at least 10 minutes before. Silence your phone as you're walking in. You don't want to be on the loudspeaker talking and people are looking at you, seeing you the first time and wondering where is this person coming from, because first impressions matters. Dress one notch above the company standard. Very, very important. And a firm handshake with eye contact is very, very important as well. Dress the part. It is important. For example, I have a friend who recently interviewed for a registrar role. He's a dentist. And during the interview, he dressed to the interview as a dentist with the headgear, the stethoscope around the neck, and stuff like that. So it's very, very important. If you are in that industry where dressing matters, you want to show up prepared. You want to show up ready. If it is a virtual interview, log in at least 5 minutes early. Test your cameras, test your mic, test your lightings, and make sure everything is good. Come plain with a plain and tidy background, also very, very important. Look into the camera, not the screen. You're looking into the camera. That would be the equivalent of an eyeball if it was an in-person interview. Sit upright. You don't want to be too relaxed. You don't want to come across as not serious or not in the moment for the interview. And then close other tabs so you're not distracted by them. Another important thing I've found really helpful recently is if it's a virtual interview, you can set a camera, maybe your phone at the end of the room to record you speaking, right? This would be useful for you to see how well you're doing as somebody seeing you during the interview. Because oftentimes we don't get to see how well we're doing because we are the character, we're the person in the interview, right? So if you set a phone at the other end of the room, record you, after the whole interview, you can go to that video, play it, and then see areas where you can improve. It's a data for you to review and find ways to improve for your next interview. Delivering answers with composure. Composure is very, very key. You want to speak slowly. You want to accentuate and sound excited. By accentuate, I mean punch those keywords out, especially with accent difference. For us, coming from Africa, you've spoken a lot with your friends, everybody hears you well, and you come over to the side of the world and they're struggling to hear you even though you're saying the right thing. So you want to make sure you're hitting those consonants and those vowels properly so that the words you're pronouncing comes out the way they should. So speak slower and accentuate properly. Listen fully. Very, very important. Listen fully. Hear the whole question. Do not interrupt the speaker. Pause and have a think before you answer any question. You can have a sip of water, or you can say something like, that's a very good question, all right? Or you can take a moment with a few seconds to say, let me put it this way and describe a scenario that makes them understand what you're saying. It's very, very important. These things are very, very important. Ask questions where you are unsure. It's very, very important. Never badmouth your previous employer, because one day, even if you are hired at the interview where you are, one day they will become your previous employer and they will think you badmouth them. Be honest. Where you don't know, say you don't know. The people interviewing you are very likely going to be your future colleagues, not your judge. So be real. At the end of the interview, it is important that you ask questions. Never leave an interview without asking a question. Here are some options I have for you here, some examples. assuming I'm successful in this role, what does success look like in the first 3 to 6 months? And what about a year? The catch with this question is it's a psychological question, and psychology is a little bit trickish because you're getting into their head to think of you as working with them in this role already and telling you the expectations they will have of you 3 months, 6 months into this role. So it's very, very important, especially at the later stage of the interview. Question number two that you could ask is, this question number two is, Brother David, can you help me mute the noise, please? This question number two is very, very important. For example, I read
Please,
that the
can you
industry
take
is not.
question number one again? I was distracted by that noise, please. Sorry.
Oh, good. I'll take it again. Question number one, something like, assuming I'm successful in this role, what does success look like in the first 3 months or 6 months or 1 year? The psychology here is you're getting them to see you as working in this role already, like they've hired you and working in this role, and telling you their expectations of you. Right? So you're getting into their head to see you working in that role already. That's the psychology behind that question. Question number two is I read that the industry is moving towards this direction, and I noticed some companies and competitors are experimenting with this solution. Is that something you've explored, or are you taking a different approach to this problem? The psychology behind this is telling them that you are aware where the industry is going and you are aware what it is about them, the challenge that the industry is facing, and what possible solution that could be explored. But you must deliver it very carefully so you don't come across as lecturing or you don't come across as boastful, because it's a very thin line between arrogance and sounding confident. So this question number two must be delivered. Or if it's not about the business, you can ask them about themselves. They're humans. I remember I said they're your future colleagues, not your judge. So you can ask the question of how has your journey been coming into this role? And hear what they'll tell you about themselves. Everybody likes to talk about themselves. So it's good that you can ask them a question about themselves. Then the final is within 24 hours after your interview, send a follow-up email. If you have the hiring manager's numbers, email address, fine. Most likely it would be to the recruiter and tell them how interested you are about the role and how you find the interview. So yeah, these are the 6 doors that we've penned out to the next job. Know yourself first, very important. What skill do you bring to the table? Find the right opportunity that suits that skill. Build your CV around the job description of the right opportunity. Apply with structure, apply with discipline, and then prepare for your interview like there is no other option. Then deliver it with confidence. So yeah, these are the things. These are what I have for us. I'll take questions now. Thank you.
I dropped a question in the chat, or should I say it here?
Oh, good. I don't know if I have access to the chat. But David, can you help me read out that question?
Says, take an instance, for instance, where you receive an interview invite from the HR of a company. How is it possible to request to know your interviewers, especially in the Nigerian employment setting?
A very good question. Very good question. This is where region matters. And here's what I would do. I'll reply to the HRS email and choose your words very carefully and communicate it very well, requesting if it's possible that you get the name of your interviewer at hand, and if it's not possible, it's fine. And also, additional to requesting for your interviewer's name, also request for resources. Sometimes you might not know. I've been in an interview where the recruiter was meant to give me some resources to prepare for the interview, and they did not. And I didn't know to ask. Guess what? I went into the interview. The hiring manager listened to me and said, it looks like, and asked me a question, did you have the resources to prepare for this interview? I said, no. And then he said, we will reschedule this interview. I was willing to go ahead. He said, no, I don't want to put you in a disadvantaged position. So I will let the recruiter know to send you the resources, and then we'll reschedule it. We reschedule it, and I got the job. So yes, you can reply to that email and ask for that resources and the interviewer's name.
One of the things that you can do, Bro Clifford, and anyone who, in addition to what Bro Benson is saying, is you can also use your AI, your GPT. You can say, This is the job. You have the job description in the PDF. This is the email from the HR. The job is in this context. Help me to draft an email that will get access to that to thank them and to request information on the format of the interview, which they should tell you that it's going to be a technical interview, there's going to be behavioral, there are going to be 5 interviews. That's some information you should have. And the interviewers and what Rob Benson also said and resources. Because an email, like you said, is about framing and delivering the message. But if they did not give you that information, you should ask for it. And you can frame it for the Nigerian context so that they know, oh, okay, I should tell them if you should be preparing for a technical interview, a behavioral interview. If the company does make it a policy to tell you who the interviewers are, based on that email, they will. Maybe they forgot, right? And if they give resources, they will. So it's something you shouldn't feel anytime. You shouldn't feel awkward about asking. And you can ask GPT to help you frame an email response to that interviewer, that HR person.
Thank you very much. Benson, Brother, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Welcome.
Hello.
Hi.
Yeah, sorry to bring you back. Please, can you display the star method again? I just want to take something there. Thank you. Receive. Thank you.
Okay.
What other questions do we have?
One thing I'll add is if you do, in terms of selling and talking about what you contributed versus what the team contributed, an interview is a place for you to sell yourself. So as much as possible, don't stories where your team did all the work may not be the best way to sell yourself. So try not to, focus on those stories. Look for stories or look for what you contributed to that story. A lot of times I've heard about us, people from our part of the world, where the interviewer struggled to understand what the person contributed and it impacted their ability to get the job. And to what Bob Benson shared, if you don't know the answer, you can follow up. You can say, I don't know it, but I will follow up and let you know. And in your thank you email, which you should send, you can address the question that you were asked, saying, hey, this, thank you for the email, thank you for the interview, to your question about this is what I found. Or showing yourself as a teammate that follows up.
Okay, looks like we have a question from the live stream. Brother Henry, can you please check that?
Okay, let me. Okay, yeah, that's true. How do you answer questions in regards to handling conflict between you and a supervisor, especially when you haven't been in that position?
Brother David, can you help with that?
Okay. There's always conflict. Maybe you may not have perceived conflict, but unless every time you walked into a room and you proposed something, everybody said that it was the best idea, there was some level of friction to get your idea across. That's conflict. Sometimes maybe, it doesn't have to be dramatic where there was a blowout. It's just literally how did you work through people and people's concerns and oppositions to get to where you were going. So you can the best response, the best basic entry level response for a conflict question is you tell a story and you talk about how you made room to listen to the person's concerns, then you made an effort to address their concern in the solution, and then the result showed how you and the person approved it, you and the person now worked together, or the person gave their go ahead, right? So those are the basic levels of working through people. They want to know that you are not just forcing your idea through. You listened, you changed something, and now things are working well.
All right. Praise God.
Hallelujah.
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 Amen.
Amen.
I think on this last one, and I'm also going to move us into the prayer session, but I just wanted to touch on this last one very quickly. What you're hearing, it doesn't mean it's dramatic. It could be your boss is saying that, hey, your manager is saying, hey, I need you to deliver this thing in 1 week. And you know that that thing cannot be delivered in 1 week. That's a conflict right there. So I just wanted to make the example practical. That's a conflict. That's the very definition of conflict. And now how you now listen to the person, your boss, and then how you now provided data, and how you now walk through it, and then maybe you guys now delivered it in 1.5 weeks. That's exactly what they are describing to us. So I just wanted to make it practical. And I also noticed some people, some of our members don't, maybe we need to do a better job to explain to everybody. This interview is not for people looking for job. I don't think we understand that. It's not like really for only the person looking for job. It's for everyone. Everyone. If you're a tailor, this is for you. Everything they describe, if you listen very well, you know that it's applicable to you. It's just talking about how you get the next client, how you get especially if you aspire to grow big. If you want to remain where you are, that's okay. If you're already a manager, this is saying, how do you become a director? If you're a director, this is saying, how do you become a VP? If you're a business owner, this is saying, how do you grow? It's for everybody. But at times we make the mistake thinking, well, I'm not looking for jobs, so I don't need to join the meeting today, or I'm not going to listen. So I just wanted to clarify that for us, that this is for everybody. But I'm going to quickly transition us to the prayer session, and so that we can pray. And I also want to remind us that our brothers, they sent out the deck. So there's a deck, there's the information there, you can study it. And then one thing I also wanted to touch on this, if they ask you, tell me about yourself, please, they are not asking you to start talking about your father, your mother, your family. They are just asking, summarize your work experience. Because even yesterday, day before, somebody still made the mistake. Why was it?